Welcome. You found CISO Stressed, brought to you by SCYTHE, a bi-weekly conversation with CISOs on those topics that are top of mind, hosted by me, Liz Wharton. It's dangerous to go alone. Join the conversation on SCYTHE's YouTube channel or the CISO Stressed audio streaming wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen in and come join us. Would like to welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of CISO Stressed, brought to you by the magical unicorns at SCYTHE. And so I'll be hosting these bi-weekly conversations. I'm Liz Wharton, Chief of Staff at SCYTHE, among other hats that I get to wear. And speaking of hats and speaking of CISOs and the evolving roles and companies, et cetera, how can you not, or how could you have a conversation about this without our two guests that I'm welcoming today? I mean, it's kind of the two folks who are at the forefront of both the C-suite and guiding that level of the company, as well as in Ty's case, he is training in addition to leading the next generation of CISOs. So with that, I give a unicorn salute to Wendy Nather and Ty Wilson. And I warned them before we started the recording that I wasn't going to go into their full length bios because inevitably I would cut them short and miss out on something. And really, they have amazing stories and journeys. So one of the things that we will be doing with CISO Stressed is we will be having bios and any additional information. If any of our guests reference an article or something, we'll compile show notes. And so please go check those out. Please get the full rundown on what our two esteemed guests have been up to, what trouble they have been causing, and especially because they may need alibis for later. But with that, Wendy and Ty, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you again, Wendy.
Yeah, good to see you too. It's good to be here.
And Liz.
And Liz. Oh, right.
I'm really just here to get the story out of y'all. I'm the background. I'm not nearly as exciting because and especially with Ty, I can't keep up. I mean, how many classes and seminars and I'm exhausted. How are you not exhausted?
That's a good question.
Coffee?
Yes, lots of coffee. And I just try to think about the amount of people I could help. So the people are what keep me motivated. So, and I just take it day by day,
Well, I think we all kind of have to, but one of the things that, and one of the great benefits is I got to listen to probably one of the last in-person seminars, classes that you led at B-Sides Nova, and which was awesome. And it kind of talking, and I said I was not going to do it, so I'm not going to say that word. I'm not saying that word, but in an evolving say
unprecedented time.
But it's not but in a shifting environment where we're not all sitting in our offices and for the foreseeable future, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But really, when it comes to the training, the learning, and I imagine as a CISO, that's a top priority. How are you seeing that shift, Ty? And then Wendy, same question for you as well.
Wow.
Go ahead, Ty.
Wow. Well, first of all, it's been a very slow shift to identifying what the new normal is going to be for a while. And it seems like, a lot of companies have made that transition, whether they wanted to or not, some successfully, some were unsuccessful with it. But I think the one thing that's happening is, companies are understanding that, having employees that work remotely is a viable option now. So the only thing so one of the major things that they're considering now is, the transition to home security and being more aware of, what that's like. Because it seems like you were just forcing it down people's throats from a corporate perspective. But now that everyone's home, it makes it more personal now. And it feels like a lot more people are starting to pay more attention now because the tactics are changing to make it more personal. So when I give, some trainings, and some of the examples I give are, attackers will hack into your machines and listen and watch your family on your laptops. They start to take it a lot more seriously.
Well, and so how do you convey that the training when it's one thing when you could say, okay, everybody come to the conference room at 1 o'clock, we're going to see. And I mean, I'm even guilty of it now. I mean, before I would sit, okay, so for lawyers, we have to sit through CLE courses, a required number. And I may or may not pay the most attention during some of them, and I'm, fiddling around, but I've seen it's just, so how do you kind of make that transition when you're doing everything virtually and making sure that information's sinking in?
Wow, I try to provide an example that they would see on a regular basis to make it more personal. So some of the templates that we would use is like a shared document template that you would get from people in your company. So I run through the example of how I would find people in your company, identify what cloud service you're using to share documents, grab a template, send it up to my spear phishing server, send it all to them, and say, this is what I did because you clicked on this link to share this, to accept the share. So now now everyone's double checking the shared documents.
Yeah, no, and Wendy, kind of from both the role, because I mean, you're sitting within the department as well as advising. How are you seeing some other folks approach that?
Well, the one thing that I want to stress is that for training right now, everybody knows people are they're not working from home so much as they're trying to survive a pandemic at home while working at the same time, and they're trying to take care of their families. They're dealing with health issues. People are so stressed that there's a lot of times when they cannot focus, and they just can't get training to sink in. And so I think we have to be very flexible and understanding of these things, that you can't necessarily hold a regular training and expect everybody to show up and be aware at the same time and focus on it. So we offer a lot of internal and external trainings, for example, at Cisco. And most of the time I have no energy to tune into them, even though I just have to get on a video call and do it. So what I say to my team is, whatever you feel like you can do, go for it. If there's something online you want to learn, you can absolutely expense it, do it on your own time when you feel capable of it. But, we're not going to try to force you to do the same sort of deep learning that, might have been easier when you weren't exhausted, anxious, stressed, even more than usual. The other thing is that I was doing an interview the other day they had matched me up with a woman who has been in cybersecurity for a month and a half. And so we were comparing experiences, me with 25 years and her with a month and a half. And she was talking about all the training she was doing and the mentoring and the networking. And she said, what did you do? And I said, I had none of that. They didn't have trainings for anything. They announced one day that I was going to be in charge of the security, and then they just left me to figure it out. So we may have to go back to doing that right now. And we I love that Ty is giving to the community and is educating so many people. At the same time, I think we should allow space for people to realize that a lot of this is we're all figuring it out as we go along. It's not that you're going to take 25 courses and then you're going to be an expert, because by next month things will have changed, and next year things will have changed. So it not so much training, stuffing ideas in people's heads, as teaching them to figure things out, because that's the one thing that we're going to be doing all the time.
And that's one of the things that, even again, going back to the attorney world, but the business side, all the way down into the actual technical side of things, I feel like the hands-on, that you've read it in a book, you've watched a couple, I mean, of course you watch Ty's videos and courses and you're like, I get it instantly. But for the rest of us who don't always have that, getting that hands-on experience, so how do you build that out when maybe you're not there in person? Is that when you have to do more of the, okay, let's try the video, because conference calls, the group stuff is great, but how do you make that the same?
Yeah, sort of in cases where you need hands-on practice, and you need that kind of skill. I mean, there are so many things that are being offered by the community, so many CTFs. I would just say, cloud, and I would absolutely want to pay for the space for team members to be able to play with things and work them out on their own. But again, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I tend to, start throwing out the structure as soon as we're in a period like this where I can't guarantee that I'm going to know what's going on until it happens. And let's just do the best we can, and let's support each other, and let's, be really creative about what that learning looks like and how that knowledge exchange looks like. I spend a day a week now in the morning, 1 day a week, where my team and I just sit on video and we just hang out. We don't have a meeting. We just all sit there and turn it on, and it's like working in an office. And we're just typing and we're answering emails and going, oh my God, did you see that? That clown just said that. But we're also exchanging things that just come up, spontaneously. That is part of the learning and training experience. That it's never formal, but it's always very opportunistic. Like, I happen to be thinking this, and by the way, what do you think? So I think you need to make space for that as well. The spontaneous learning along with the structured training.
And one of the things that comes to mind as well is, I think of and I've seen this on the restaurant side, where they've taken, okay, you're gonna have a cooking night, but they put all the ingredients that you'll need either in a shopping list or even like a box. So the box arrives at your house and you've got all the different wines that you'll be tasting. You'll have the menu kind of printed out, other things, but almost developing, and Ty is one who puts together these trainings. Should you consider almost like a CTF in a box, like a training in a box, where somebody sits there and puts all the pieces that you would need for a hands-on individual? I mean, if you've got a small enough team, it seems like that, I don't know how you scale that, but what about something like that as kind of a replacement for the otherwise showing up in one classroom?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it's exactly like that. So it's a gamified CTF platform, I guess. Uh, Try Hack Me. It's called Try Hack Me. So we not try to be product agnostic, right? But there's a lot of stuff that we put on Try Hack Me, and we can put virtual machines, we can put tasks, we can put questions. So it's a CTF, but it feels really real, because like, you have to set up your own machine, you have to attack machines, and we don't require everyone to do it all in a day. So it's almost like a CrossFit type environment, but for InfoSec and CTFs. So for the week, we'll say, hey, this is the task for the week. You have the week to finish these tasks. So start small and then just keep going. So I listened to Eric Thomas as a motivational speaker. It says small steps, great distances. So that's just my approach.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's an offering that Cover Six has.
Yeah.
Tell us, how do we find out more?
Oh, for sure. I love that. Cover6solutions.com. And in all actuality, it's to a point where like I want to help people so much that I'm practically giving the training away. So
On the business side, you and I will have a side talk
okay.
about that. But no, that's great. So if someone goes to the website, how do they find out more about the
So
offerings?
cover6solutions.com. It's right there on the front page, the upcoming training, and they're all discounted now because it's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So individual pricing and corporate pricing are different.
There you go.
but individuals, they should really take advantage of that right now.
No, that seems like a good thing for CISOs to look at is opportunities to kind of get creative
Yes.
and find ways to, it sounds like Wendy, your team finding a way to get that, everyone calls it the water cooler shot, get that experience of that shared kind of workday experience of like, oh, like it's not as much fun yelling and screaming at my laptop or something if it's just me, the dog, and maybe like that's just not as exciting as like in an office where you can rant, rail, and someone will like stick their head out and be like, "You okay in there?" Like, "Yep." So
Yeah.
that's awesome. No, well, and because we're going to keep each of these short, and I could talk to y'all both for hours, one of the things that has really been coming out, people working at home, getting creative, and finding themselves in their home environment as far as not only are CISOs stressed and are they stressing new things, but let's take stressed, flip it around, and you get desserts. So dessert backwards is stressed. But what are some of the things that when it's the end of a long day and you're like, you know what, just suck it up, buttercup. Let's get through. I told them I was
You
going to get
just
that in.
said,
I did.
Buttercup.
I did. If
Wow.
you're drinking coffee along with us, I think that's worth a shot of espresso. But what is your kind of suck it up, buttercup? Like you made it through today. How do you, because a dessert is a course that caps off a meal. So how do you cap off your day in a way that, like I love, walks with the dog, that kind of stuff, or baking. What's something like a recipe, or how do you cap off the end of your day these days?
I'm going to let Ty go first because he's
Okay.
probably going to do like a workout of the day and all this impressive stuff. Yeah.
No, you guys are going to be so disappointed in me. In the mornings, I do like a 5-mile walk run every morning. There's a route that I take, and that's the time where I decompress from the previous day, which sounds weird because at night I just try to go to sleep and I just can't take it anymore. But I don't really eat sweets at all. But I do have some barbecue Fritos that they don't make anymore.
Wait, they don't?
No, you have to order them online. So I order it online, and that is my my release at the end of the day, along with a nice drink.
There you go.
Something.
There you go. Now, do you do the Fritos in chili?
Chili, cheese, whatever I can get my hands on. Yes.
There you go. Okay. Well done. I think that's a worthy,
right. We'll accept that.
Yes, we'll accept that answer. Now, Wendy, how about yourself?
Well, I end up being so tired at the end of the day that I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I get cold and I get very tired and I can't think straight. And I can fall asleep like anywhere. I have a wingback chair that I sit down and I just put my head to the side and I doze off. Or sometimes, I'll go straight to bed. But a lot of times I will go outside and just stand in the sun and warm up, because I get really cold by the end of the day. I'm the only one in my family who does. And then for dessert, right now, because it's fall, I went up to Amazon and I ordered all the pumpkin spice. Just all the pumpkin spice. So every day something new is arriving. And so right now I have pumpkin
Ooh.
spice moon pies. I don't know if you
Oh,
can
wow. It's
see the
coming
box.
in a little bit. Yes,
Like
yes.
going in and out. Yeah. So
Mhm.
pumpkin spice moon pies, I will just get under the covers, try to get warm, and have a moon pie. That's my dessert for the day.
I love it. Well deserved on both, even though, of course you start off the day with a 5 mile, like intense, or not intense, but I'm like, yeah, my little dog walks seem just pale in comparison. But anyway, thanks to you both. And where should, because you're both very active in the community stuff, uh, 5-second shout outs as we wind down of where you want to direct people to find out more about what you're doing, your thoughts, and your projects.
I would say Twitter is probably the best place right now for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'm doing a thread where I post something every day, what I think would be very, very helpful, and that will lead to everything else. So if you follow me on Twitter, twitter.com, TyWilson21, that is probably the best way.
Thank you. And Wendy.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter too. Wendy Nather is my handle, but I don't post very useful stuff most of the time for security. What I do is I retweet smart people like Tyrone. So if you miss his tweets, come and look at mine, because I'll probably be reposting his. But that's generally where you'll find me hanging out when I'm not, like standing outside trying to warm up with a moon pie.
When you're not under a blanket in your wing-backed leather chair, eating your moon pie, pumpkin
Eating my
spice
moon
flavor.
pie.
I love it. Well, and of course, thanks everyone for joining us for the conversation. Thanks, Ty and Wendy. And find out more about SCYTHE and what the SCYTHE unicorn, I'd say heard, but technically a gathering of unicorns is a blessing. So find out what the blessing is doing at SCYTHE_IO. Catch our next CISO Stressed. I'm Liz Wharton, and thanks for tuning in.